The scene is set in the rubble of a defeated Nazi Germany. The year is 1945. The world breathes a sigh of relief, celebrating the end of tyranny. But in the shadows, a secret deal was being struck. The United States, the ultimate champion of freedom, was about to recruit some of Hitler's most valued associates. This is the controversial truth about Operation Paperclip, a classified program that brought over 1,600 Nazi scientists and engineers to America. The question is, why? And was the staggering technological advantage worth the moral cost?
The Second World War may have ended, but the fragile alliance between the Western powers and the Soviet Union was dissolving rapidly. The next conflict, the Cold War, was already on the horizon, and it would be won or lost not with tanks and infantry, but with superior technology. The Germans, for all their atrocities, had achieved breakthroughs years ahead of their time, from the V-2 ballistic missile to groundbreaking aviation and medical research. These inventions were suddenly the most valuable prizes on the planet. The race was on. Both the US and the Soviets knew that whoever secured the top German scientists would gain an undeniable, decisive military edge. This urgent, near-panic desire for technology paved the road for the creation of Operation Paperclip.
Originally conceived under different names, the final program, Operation Paperclip, was formally approved in September 1946. Its purpose was clear: to exploit German expertise for US military applications. The paperclip name derived from the actual paperclips used by the Joint Intelligence Objectives Agency, JIOA, to attach the dossiers of the approved German scientists to their new employment contracts. Over 1,600 individuals were brought across the Atlantic, but there was a massive complication. Many of these scientists and engineers had been staunch members of the Nazi Party, the SS, or had been directly involved in war crimes and the exploitation of concentration camp prisoners. To circumvent President Truman's order that any documented war criminal be excluded, the JIOA systematically expunged or fabricated new biographies for the most controversial individuals. Their wartime links were erased, and their new identities were scrubbed clean. This was the dark heart of Paperclip, sacrificing justice for pure technological advantage.
The centerpiece of Operation Paperclip was Dr. Wernher von Braun, the undisputed genius behind the V-2 rocket program. Von Braun was an organizational and engineering visionary. He was also a commissioned officer in the SS. Von Braun's V-2 rockets were not manufactured in a conventional factory. They were built underground at the infamous Mittelwerk complex deep inside Germany using slave labor from the nearby Dora concentration camp. Thousands of prisoners died from starvation, disease, and brutal conditions. Yet instead of facing justice at Nuremberg, von Braun and his team were given high-paying jobs, military protection, and the opportunity to realize their dreams. They became the driving force behind America's intercontinental ballistic missile program and later the literal architects of NASA's journey to the moon. The man whose work was powered by the victims of the Holocaust was now the new American hero of science. This is the untold moral dilemma of the program.
Paperclip wasn't just about rockets. The program reached deep into almost every field of strategic importance. Aviation and aerodynamics. German engineers revolutionized jet engine design, which proved critical for U.S. air superiority. A-bomb research. While the U.S. had developed the atomic bomb independently, German knowledge about heavy water and nuclear physics was crucial for ongoing research and securing remaining resources.
The rationale provided by the JIOA was always the same. The technical knowledge was too valuable to fall into Soviet hands. It was a pure utilitarian calculus. But this raises a critical question. Why did these men escape prosecution? The reality is, the U.S. military structure and intelligence agencies simply prioritize national security and technological dominance over moral obligation and international justice. The Nuremberg trials, meant to hold perpetrators accountable, focused on high-ranking officials. The scientists, hidden by their new American sponsors, were off-limits. The official story of Paperclip, sold to the American public, emphasized the defeat of the V2 threat and the genius of the scientists, while completely omitting the context of the concentration camps. It was a monumental cover-up, justified by the terrifying stakes of the budding Cold War.
Operation Paperclip was ugly, but undeniably effective. It provided the intellectual capital that allowed the U.S. to catch up to and eventually surpass the Soviet Union in several key areas. Without the foundational work of von Braun, the U.S. would have been severely delayed in the space race. The development of Jupiter C rocket, which launched America's first satellite, Explorer 1, was directly managed by the Paperclip scientists. Their work guaranteed U.S. dominance in the race for orbital supremacy and ultimately the moon landing. In a strange twist of history, the same intellectual engine that built Hitler's terror weapons was now building the systems that secured the Western world's position as a technological superpower.
By the 1970s, Operation Paperclip faded from public memory, yet its legacy remains profound. The program demonstrated a painful historical reality. In the pursuit of ultimate power, the strongest nations are often willing to make the greatest moral sacrifices. The scientists of Paperclip, men who worked alongside a regime of terror, laid the groundwork for America's greatest technological achievements. Their presence helped the U.S. win the technological front of the Cold War, but the cost was a permanent ethical stain on the nation's integrity. The question remains, did the long-term benefit of securing the West from Soviet threat truly justify bringing the architects of a monstrous regime into the fold and letting them escape justice? If this deep dive into the moral compromises of the Cold War shocked you, don't just click away. We want to hear your thoughts. Please comment below. Was Operation Paperclip a necessary evil for national security or an unforgivable moral failure? And if you want to understand more about the hidden history behind these conflicts, be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel.